Hello and welcome everybody, I'm OneProperVarian and we are here in a disaster save, a save that is worthwhile examining because what went wrong and what was done poorly is very important to take care of and to understand if you ever want to get good at Victoria 3. And you do want to get good at the game, right? This save was sent to me, and by that I mean it was posted in a channel and I just took it and stole it essentially by none other than Andy's Take / Andy's Paradox, a formidable, a great person. Definitely check out his channels as well. He is kind of learning the game, he's really good at these games in general, but I think Victoria 3, especially with the recent rework, can throw anybody for a loop. In this campaign, he played Japan, and Japan, if you aren't aware of this, obviously if you are a Victoria 3 pro, then you will say no country is difficult at all, but if we're being realistic, Victoria 3 Japan is one of the hardest things you can play in the game, maybe outside of playing Sokoto, Ashanti, and so on. This country is fully isolated, it is small, it is backwards, and it has a lot of trouble with the rulers currently in place. If you, by the way, find yourself in trouble with any of the Victoria 3 playthroughs of your own, make sure to send that to my email address. The link will be in the description there. It will also probably be in a pinned comment. I will gladly look over what went wrong and properly explain what to consider and what to pick up going forward. Now, as I rename this here to its rightful name in this video, what we are going to be doing is of course pretty simple. First, we will analyze the political situation, then the budgetary situation, and ultimately explain what exactly matters the most. In this case, it is mostly building a baseline economy and of course trade. So, let's start out. If you aren't fully aware, if you don't know about this, the Japanese shogunate starts out in a rather precarious position. It is deeply entrenched with all of the interest groups that you don't like, mostly of course with the shogunate, but also with the samurai. The shogunate here in particular has already been weakened significantly. That is awesome. I can already tell you that this is mostly because of outside interference. We are currently in the Honorable Restoration Journal entry, more on that after we're done with the baseline of politics right here, but the idea of Japan is that you need to throw off the yoke of the shogunate so that you can reform yourself into being a proper empire again. This is what you do in your first 20, 30, maybe 40 years, depending on how long it takes you, and then you move on to the mid and end game, which is Japan being imperialist. Now, I can tell you that the fact that we are already pursuing honorable restoration and that the shogunate is comparatively weak is something that happened due to foreign influence. In fact, you can see it right here, forced to open Japan. Very clearly somebody, which is of course how it is intended to work, of the European or American powers came knocking and ensured that Japan would, well, open up its markets, stop having it closed. You want to trade with them. You can see it right here, there is a massive impact, it is hugely beneficial. One of the rare countries, I would argue. Japan, you kind of want to be attacked and then lose that war. Now let's take a look at the politics right here. You see we're getting a lot of bonuses. People generally are very happy, which is exciting. We're going to take that in as we go. We also have a good chunk, and let me change this to the area graph right here, of indeed loyalists. Also a number of radicals. These are mostly coming, however, from the Hayman, so that is the rural folk. Honestly, they don't matter that much. Neither do, of course, the trade unionists. They don't have any political power. This right here could be slightly more problematic. It's very interesting to note that the shogunate has almost no radicals. I'm bringing this up because of course, radicals and loyalists drive up and drive down how happy one of your interest groups is with you. It depends quite significantly on that. When it comes to the movements, you can see that the nihilist movement is very angry, which we should probably keep an eye on. Other than that, nobody is really doing all that much. As we are trying to reform away from the shogunate, well, we are going to go into the direction of all three of these movements anyway, so that means the absolutist movement is really our only fear and potential danger. Now, as we take a look at our government itself, you can see that we are led, of course, by Ieyasu Tokugawa. He is also just a terrible character right here. Yeah, he is part of the shogunate and he is a traditionalist, although currently, and we want to keep it that way so that we can actually have the restoration, the shogunate isn't in government. We have the Hayman in government, they are traditionalists, and we have the Buddhist monks in governments, they are authoritarian. The Hayman are incredibly powerful here, which I can only really put down to the fact that of course Japan is growing incredibly quickly, meaning that there is always a full level of peasants, and yeah, all of those will of course flood to the Hayman. Now good for us, despite them being traditionalist, they are also loyalist. That is actually amazing news for us. You can see all of these folks here are actually incredibly happy. We moved from land-based taxation to per capita taxation, and I might want to add that despite us doing this, well, take a look at this, the shogunate isn't even unhappy. We went from traditionalism to agrarianism, great move, I can really only congratulate this, and we went from land-based to per capita taxation. All of these people being this happy, and might I add, especially the samurai samurai, actually having a modernizer leader is amazing for us, because it means that, yeah, they're not gonna rebel together with the shogunate if we liberalize even further. Now, let's take a look at our laws. We have some pretty basic stuff here. We have monarchy and autocracy, as well as national supremacy and freedom of conscience. All of these are standard in Japan. I believe that this was changed by Andy here as well, so appointed bureaucrats, that's pretty decent. Nothing wrong with this. He is currently also reforming us from peasant levies into professional army. Great move, because once more this takes away political strength from the aristocrats and officers, meaning that the landowners, the shogunate, is weaker. Not having a home affairs office is somewhat problematic, especially in the early game of a very, very conservative, even reactionary nation. I would always recommend going with secret police. See, when you implement this, your conservative forces will be like, yes, suppress my enemies, until they are our enemies and all of a sudden can't rebel against us anymore. I would always say basically you want to do this. On the economy side of things, agrarianism is good. I think ultimately, of course, laissez-faire or interventionism would probably be even better, but it doesn't really matter, because what we just don't want is traditionalism. It is truly abhorrently terrible, and of course additionally also locks you out of certain things that you want to achieve. Per capita taxation is very good. I have now kind of reached a situation where sometimes I will actually stick with land-based taxation just so that I can then kind of jump over per capita taxation into proportional taxation. Keep in mind, land-based taxation is very heavy on your farmers, your peasants, and so on. Per capita taxation is the first semi-fair rule of, taxation, but proportional taxation mostly focuses on high income and indeed dividends. I will tell you, whether you jump into proportional taxation or not, per capita taxation is a perfectly serviceable form of taxation even into the late game. Other than that, we have tenant farmers, which we might want to reform out of. We got frontier colonization, local police force, which we definitely want to get away from. School system and health system in Japan, not strictly needed. Censorship, it's fine. Honestly, all of these you can very much easily ignore as a Japan. This just doesn't really matter until the end game for you. Now, institution-wise, like I said, I would like the institution right here that comes from the Home Affairs Office. That is very important if you want to keep it peaceful, even while doing some radical reforms, but okay, we don't have this. What is a big mistake right here is not upgrading law enforcement. Listen, in these videos, and I really want to stress this, I could tell you, hey, technically, if you want to play it ideally, you want to hop into, for example, colonial exploitation, you want to run some nonsense scheme. Listen, if you just learn the game, you don't need to do any of this, but I can tell you right now, no matter what you want to do, and I know that it says strengthening the shogunate landowners right here, but you want to go hard at potentially making people angry at you. We will learn about this when we go into the budget section, and that will mean that you will eventually generate turmoil, and when you generate turmoil, you will wish that you had a higher level of law enforcement, because law enforcement just gets rid of the penalties that come with turmoil. So if you combine this with also making it harder to rebel, you don't get revolutions, and you don't get negative side effects of people being angry at you. Now, by and large, I rate this quite okay. He didn't do poorly at all. He reformed certain laws. He did quite okay, and of course he also leaned into the fact that when they went against him, they first gave him free trade. He directly reformed into protectionism. He handled that really well. But of course, not everything is right in the world. Our GDP could be higher. Literacy is fine. It's Japan. We just have this modifier right here. The Terrakoya system, this just gives us massive education access. Really, really big for us. We also have an okay standard of living. I'm going to come back to why standard of living just does not matter this early into the game in just a bit. We have a balanced approach of radicals and loyalists, and if you're an experienced player, you will look at this and go, okay, wait a minute, you probably don't actually want to have a balanced approach to this. Why that is, again, we're gonna see in just a second. This is everything that we can glean from just looking at politics, from looking at the interest groups, and indeed from looking at our laws. Let's take a quick look at our capacities right here. You can see that we are way over our bureaucracy limit, which isn't bad, because it means that I can then easily run into other institutions. So, you know what, let's be happy with this. Having an access also, of course, increases state construction efficiency, which is always good. And in the case of Japan, you're going to see that overbuilding bureaucracy actually is sensible with the way that it functions now, because it allows you to work through some of the tax waste that you will otherwise have. When it comes to authority, you can see, what are we doing here? We are collecting consumption taxes. Okay, that is pretty standard. Road maintenance in Kansai, which is this state right there, so the capital here of Bavaria City. We're enhancing this, and I assume that is also why we're building a port right there. And then we have encouraging manufacturing industry as well as agricultural industry. None of these are truly bad. I'm not against this at all, but I think we probably want to get rid of many of these decrees. I'm going to go ahead and actually just remove them. He has chosen some key states. Okay, very interesting. I like his approach, and that is fine. If you ever find yourself placing any of these right here, so any of these three, right, it's not really a mistake. You can probably do something better with that actual authority right there. But fundamentally, yeah, it makes your economy better. Nothing wrong with this. I will remove it because I think we do have a significantly better place where we could place this instead. Now, taking a look at our budget, I will give you a little bit of early game philosophy that is true now in this patch more than in 1.8, but fundamentally it is about understanding your economy and your population in the early game, especially if you are not France or Britain or maybe even Prussia, the Netherlands, you know, Belgium or the United States of America. In short, I will tell you a truth about your population and economy if you are a relatively backwards country that you should never ignore. So, first of all, we are now on per capita taxation and we are on the second highest level of taxation. This is interesting to keep in mind. I say it is interesting because, well, why aren't we on the highest level? Many players, and I totally understand this, will put this on the highest level, they will see more money, but they will also then, quite a bit later, see that their radical number shoots up and goes much, much higher than loyalists. If we still were on land-based taxation, and I really want to bring this home, then our highest taxes mostly will be hitting, well, you guessed it, these folks right here, which means, of course, the rural folk. Now, I'll be honest with you, having unhappy rural folk doesn't mean anything at all, because the rural folk in a backwards country, by and large, will be made up of, there they are, completely worthless, meaningless, who cares, peasants. This means we are making people unhappy that don't have the capacity, the political power to actually successfully rebel against us, which in turn means I don't care if they're unhappy. Being on per capita taxation kind of spreads this burden a lot more, a lot less just on farmers and on the general population. This might mean that you make meaningful, important people unhappy, but that is why, as a backwards country, well, we have the privilege of easily accessing or being able to access rather backwards laws. If you pass secret police, if you, for example, pass National Guard, what will that do for you? Of course, what it will be doing is, well, you can suppress them even if you're screwing with the people that are much more meaningful to you, your cause, and so on. Because at this point, you're not just taxing the peasants, I mean, you are, right, the land tax, but you're also taxing the people that actually have political power, that get an actual wage, and so on. Do keep in mind, when you have per capita taxation, there is no dividends tax, which, well, means we're not directly taxing the dividends and the most important part of society, but income tax does even hit the land-owning pops as well, which means this might make them angry, but hey, we have tools to suppress their anger. So, you know what? Going really hard on the highest income level, it's pretty smart in the early game, even if you're not a min-maxer. Now, with the additional authority that we gained, I could add consumption taxes, but honestly, I don't really want this. I want to change a couple of laws very, very quickly. And if you have more authority, that gives you a lack of enactment time, and that makes it so that things might just be a little bit easier for you. I'm going to store this just for now because I want to very aggressively change a bunch of laws going forward here. It wouldn't be wrong to get more consumption taxes, but I hope you get my drift. Now, other than that, we're getting income taxes, poll taxes, consumption taxes. So right now, basically the head tax, where everybody has to pay it, it mostly hits the lower strata, is our biggest tax income, and that is totally fine. Because the poor people are kind of too stupid to rebel. I'm not too concerned about them. We also got minting, we got government dividends of government-owned buildings. Okay, that is fine. It's not that many buildings. If we take a look at this, it's 83 buildings. Who cares? This is not that big of an income. The other thing that matters is, of course, our expenses. We are currently primarily working through wooden buildings, which means that we have not upgraded our construction sector production method. Whether we can do this, I will evaluate in just a second, but okay, this is interesting to take in. Other than that, government wages and military wages are at standard levels. Sure, let's keep them there, nothing wrong with this. We are paying some subsidies for ports, but it's nothing. This right here is a massive, massive number. We have big subventions, and these cost us a lot of money. Now, when I looked at this for the very first time, I thought to myself, man, that is kind of crazy. I never considered playing like this, but honestly, if you are not familiar with trade and with the early gameplay loop of industry, if you are playing Victoria 3 because you want to have fun and not entirely just analyze a spreadsheet, this makes perfect sense to me. I can tell you exactly what Andy was thinking and why it is sensible and yet something that you probably shouldn't be doing. So, to understand what is going on here, I will explain trade to you and then what our economy is actually like. Okay, trade in 1.9 functions through trade centers. This right here is a trade center. You have to sometimes always build them yourself. You can see he built all of these. Sometimes the AI will build them for you as well, so your investment pool will take care of it. But by and large, trade centers are something that is in your provinces. Let me get a quick overview right here. We can see, yeah, okay, we have a pretty good spread of trade centers. We have trade centers right here in Kansai, and when they trade at the local price. Take a look at this right here. This tooltip right here is everything that you need to conceptually understand what is going on here. This trade center sees a local price. The local price of meat in this location is 33.6. The import price, which means the world market price, plus advantage, don't worry about that too much, it basically just describes, hey, are you easy to trade with? Do we have connections with countries that produce this good that make it easier to trade that good with you? And so on and so forth. It can be negative, it can be positive. Then of course, how big of a market position do you have in general? Those things, honestly, forget about them. They're not important to understand what is going on here. You can see the import price is higher than the local price, which means this is actually a loss, right? To import this meat into our market, this trade center would be making a massive loss. However, Andy has decided that he wants a ton of this meat in his market, and for that, he has said, I will start doing subventions. If we take a look at the good, you can see it right there, maximum subventions for import, which means the Japanese state is paying this trade center to import meat despite the meat on the market actually being more expensive than it is locally here in Kansai. Is this a terrible decision? Honestly, the answer is no. This can be valuable, it can be beneficial if you want a good to be artificially low priced in comparison to what it natively would be without your subvention. So in theory, this could be a good move. However, in practice, this is not just a suboptimal move, this will make it so that you will be spending a much longer time with an unhappy and poor population compared to if you spent that money elsewhere. So let's take this in again. Andy was basically saying, I never have enough money, something is happening here. One of the issues for me that became apparent is that he wasn't taxing his people hard enough. It's brutal and you don't have to do it if you want to be a good ruler, let's be honest here. But this year, it just gives you more money. Another thing is this right here. We're paying subventions for meat, for tea, for wood, for dye, merchant marine, sulfur, sugar, and clothes. Now, the biggest actual cost carriers here are, of course, meat and tea. These cost positions really drive us into the red. The idea behind this, to me at the very least, is very clear. Andy was taking a look at his population and he was probably saying, oh my god, they are struggling. When I take a look at the needs, you can see that they pay a lot for meat. They consume it a lot, and since I don't produce all that much, they are very low on the actual standard of living. We can check their tax burden. In this case, currently we are mostly taxing the middle strata because of the income pole right there. And then simultaneously, you can also see that indeed meat right here is one of the biggest cost factors that these people are facing. Now here's the hard truth, okay? In the early game, you virtually should never care about how your lower strata is doing. One of the reasons we've also shown already a light on, that is, they literally have no say in politics. They basically have nothing to do, they got no way of recourse, they have no political consciousness. It's a little bit different in Japan, mostly because they are much better at reading. In other parts of the world that is not the case, but the truth nonetheless remains. They basically have no political power. Even if you put on your boots and you stomp their heads on a curb, they will not be able to do anything unless you are careless. If you pass laws like the one that we will be passing, which is of course secret police right here or National Guard, whichever you want to do, they will not be able to stage revolution even if they try their best. Because, well, they're suckers. They're poor. That's their whole problem, right? You see this massive number of people, right? This is 1.44 million strength despite this pop being 5 million people. If you want these 5 million people to be happy and not to rebel against you, well, A, they already have a very limited amount of power, but more importantly, take a look at this. We would have to deliver so much meat to them because this pop is absolutely massive. If I, on the other hand, want to just make a couple of people happy, well, all I need to do is worry about the needs of the clergy. I need to tax them less and so on and so forth because look at them. They are only 37,000 people but have 574,000 political strength. My point being, In this poorer country, they basically can't rebel, and well, you won't be able to make them happy because you can't build or import meat enough to actually impact just what their material conditions are. So the thought of Andy here was actually very, very understandable. He said, I want to keep people happy. Obviously, meat and tea are also consumed by other people, but by and large, quite frankly, if you're rich, they will already be able to afford it. In a society like this one, these type of goods not being in a good state won't really impact the people that, run the petite bourgeoisie, the intelligentsia, the samurai. Take a look at them, right? These folks here, the aristocrats, they're not concerned whether you're slightly impacting more or not. They are concerned whether you're taxing them more, whether you go against their political projects, and so on. These imports aren't going to change their material well-being too much. If we analyze who is actually consuming the meat in Kansai, take a look at this, right? We got these laborers. They have basically no political power. Look at them, they're unemployed. Who cares about them, okay? To be a little bit crass about this. Look at the peasants. Who asked them? I mean, they're not going to rise up against us. Look at the farmers. Who cares? The idea is, if we stop importing this meat, the people that will stop being able to purchase it are the people we don't care about. The clergymen, the shopkeepers, the clerks, the aristocrats, they will all still have the money, even if it slightly makes them poorer, to purchase this meat. Fundamentally, these impacts hit the poorest the hardest. And the uncomfortable truth about the early game in Victoria 3 is, who cares about the poor? So, I am suggesting that subventions are a valuable tool, or rather they can be. However, realistically speaking, at the start of the game they just don't matter. Which means that I will now hop into this and I will say, I will stop paying for anything that we have subventions on. I don't care whether you're imported, I don't care whether people go slightly poorer, it just doesn't matter. Because what actually matters is that I start building an economy. Now that we understand trade and how they trade for things, and that trade very initially doesn't matter all that much unless it is us exporting something, because realistically speaking, we don't have a consumer base that matters enough that we want to have more imported stuff, right? Let's talk about the economy. I told you now that we don't care about farmers or peasants because they basically don't do anything. Let them be unhappy as long as you take precautions so that they won't bother you, you will be golden. You want to have the industrialists, the petite bourgeoisie, the intelligentsia, and of course even the labor unions actually matter, so that this right here, the shogunate, disappears entirely if given the chance. Now, to do this, it won't really work out if we make peasants richer, well, slightly richer, by making meat cheaper. It will happen if we massively industrialize. Trade is a big part of this game right now, I completely understand this, but realistically speaking, I need you to understand one thing still, and that is that the economy is the economy is the economy. This right here is the moneymaker, this right here how you bring political change, of course, into your country by making these people poorer and these people richer, and I don't even see, oh my god, the industrialists are still marginalized. I didn't even notice this, by making these people richer as well. This is the backbone of the people that we care about. And so with that in mind, let's talk about actually building an economy. Let's take a look at our economy. First, I would always recommend that you turn on is located in Japanese shogunate. The reason being, if you don't have this and you see something, for example, that is somewhere else, well, we can't really change production methods here, so seeing it doesn't matter if we're just looking for production methods. Let's start by talking about development. Currently, you can see this right here, we have barracks and they are all irregular infantry. That is fine. We're not fighting any wars until we are reformed, keep them where they are. Government administrations. Now that is a big one. I am going to pump this up to the highest level even if we were to run into trouble with, for example, paper. The reason for this is very, very simple. If you live in a high population and very backwards country like Japan, you will have a lot of tax waste. Take a look at this right here. These uncollected taxes come from the fact that we don't have enough of these government administrations in all of these locations. Now, like I said, having an access right here is actually great because it makes construction much, much faster, but it also actually helps because every single government administration that we build, yes, it costs us money, we have to buy paper, we have to pay government wages, but it also gets rid of some of this waste. Meaning, technically speaking, you can actually be much, much better off from way overbuilding because it will allow you to collect more taxes. I'm going to upgrade all of these with massive overhangs right here in the hope that indeed it kind of balances out, it gives me a massive access, and it will allow me to ram even more institutions into our country. Now, the construction sectors are difficult. We need to ascertain whether I can upgrade this right here, right? Keep in mind that all of a sudden we will need indeed tools and we will need iron. Whether we already have this, I'm not sure, but even if we don't, we can probably just import it until we have it. For now, I will change it to iron frame buildings. If we have a shortage, so be it, we're gonna go through it. This right here is kind of worrisome, okay? Whenever you are in a position where you get new technology, it basically always makes sense to upgrade the primary ones. You can see that we are now in a shortage here. Don't let yourself be frightened by this. It is not good that we are still on the very first level of mining production methods right here. More on that in just a second. Logging camps, we're gonna upgrade even if it puts us, into a shortage of tools. That's okay, we're gonna deal with this as we go. Here on the buildings, you can also see that we basically didn't really upgrade much of anything, which isn't good. You want to upgrade all of this stuff, just makes you money. When you upgrade these production methods, they will produce more, they will make more revenue. More revenue means more profit. More profit will also mean more investment in the investment pool, and more investment pool will mean, well, you grow faster economically speaking. Normally in Japan, I will tell you, you probably want to be very careful about which production methods to upgrade when, because you don't have any trade. In this case, we have trade already, we're on protectionism, so even if I run out of whatever resource, of course, is important for what I'm doing, we can probably actually import it if you ask me. Essentially, we are going from importing consumer goods to importing, well, industry goods. And those matter a lot more because our consumers are too stupid and too poor to really matter. Now, in our current queue, we have all of these Kansai ports. I'm going to get rid of these two. I just don't really want them. I like this. We can now fill this in. Obviously, you can see we have a bunch more shortages. Like I said, doesn't matter to me right now. You're going to see some rechanging things in just a second. The last thing before we unpause is this right here. I want to bring up honorable restoration because there is some min-maxing here that you might like, okay? This journal entry will only progress if we have more legitimacy than 50. I raised our taxes, which brought us down to 45. I actually did this on purpose, okay? If I finish this before the year 1867, we will get Komei as our emperor. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, Komei sucks, okay? I believe he is a landowner, he is not great, he sucks. If I wait until 1867, I will be getting Meiji, and Meiji is an industrialist, it's guaranteed. Which means, yeah, you guessed it, it will make everything so much easier because the leader of our nation will be an industrialist. So I am going to be delaying this until around 1865, then I will be on higher legitimacy and I will get Meiji once it completes. This is min-maxing, you don't have to do this, but it's good to know. All of these trades now are deeply unprofitable, which of course sucks for the trade center, but honestly for us is actually pretty good. I am saying this because all of these consumer goods, like I said, honestly, to us, they just don't matter that much. What matters too much is that we import iron, tools, and even steel, as well as right here, engines. Now I'm thinking about it. Who the hell is consuming engines? Oh, shipyards, right. Ah, that's fine. You can import it. So for now, let's just unpause and see where things go. We passed professional army right away. That is awesome. You love to see it. I already discussed now, of course, what is next. We might want to go towards homesteading. I think it is much easier or much better to eventually go towards commercialized agriculture, just because, well, that will make your industrialists better, and I love industrialists. We're going to go ahead and probably pass secret police. No, you know what? We're going to go with dedicated police force, because then we're going to look at a much better institution, we get less radicals. In general, this is just a much better law. Will it make the shogunate angry? Yes, but I don't care. Now, let's take a look at this trade center right here. You can see they have started importing iron, and they're going to do more and more of that as they start, getting rid of these meat imports right here. They now have tools, they got steel, they got iron. Trade is something that in the early game you do not want to focus on consumer goods because your consumers, again, stupid and poor, they don't matter. You want to bring stuff in that you haven't built yet because the opportunity cost was prohibitive. What I mean here is that I eventually want to have a construction industry, by which I mean everything that we need to have construction. So that is tools, that is iron, that is steel, that is wood, and that is fabric. I want to have this locally. I want to produce it right here so that I am very much independent of anybody embargoing me and so on. For now though, since we haven't built it yet and I want to build government administrations first, I will gladly import it. It's a huge boon for us, so why wouldn't we? Now, something that I haven't even addressed yet is this right here, the investment pool. You can see that we're making a good chunk of money, right? This is decent pocket change right here. We have good textile mills, we got manor houses, and so on. The reality of this investment pool is that our construction sector capacity isn't big enough. Whenever you see a positive number right here and a massive in the millions number on the left, that means you need more construction capacity. Even if you couldn't afford it. I will tell you right now, we are going to upgrade this sooner rather than later. Actually, I'm just going to upgrade it right now. Why wouldn't I, right? Pump up these numbers. If you hold Alt and left click, they are queued first, so this makes it convenient. We can hopefully balance the new goods that we need to support these construction sectors from the world market. If not, then, well, we're going to eat the cost just a little bit. Now, back to research right here. What I will focus on is atmospheric engines for sure. This will give us much more output and make every mine that we build much more profitable. After that, we are moving towards railways and water tube boiler. Maybe I would want it in the opposite, direction. So maybe this one first. Actually, let's do this one first and then railways, just because this makes our mines yet again better. And again, the better our mines are, the easier will we have a construction sector built in our own country. Yeah, I think we're like roughly equaling out here, like it's roughly the same amount that we had right there, right? As we start building these, we of course eviscerate the tax burden right here, or the unrealized tax, I should say. We're now from 14 something into 11.5k, which means this was basically a wash, except we actually benefit from it, because this, well, it employs people that are very well educated. We could even focus these folks here into being intelligentsia characters. Alternatively, of course, it also gives us more bureaucracy, again, better state construction efficiency. This, in a country like Japan, is a net positive if you got the paper, which luckily we do. You can see as well, we have upgraded our potential. We still make a massive plus. I want to stress one thing, and that is, if you are unrecognized, do not go into the red, okay? In any other country, especially if you're a major power or higher, definitely go into the debt. That is something you can do. You can pay for it, basically. Interest for unrecognized countries is brutal. You don't want to mess with it. So I'm gonna keep it positive here until we're out of the red, but eventually I will make it so that we are basically equal. So we are getting no money per month or per week. So that is where we want to be with our construction capacity. Even now the investment pool is still growing. Take a look at this interest rate right here. It's disgusting. The unrecognized major power is just awful. Don't mess with debt if you are unrecognized. Now, it didn't happen here for me, but if I ever found myself in a situation where I'm like, oh, you know what, I have a shortage despite the world market price being better than what it is locally here, make sure to check your trade capacity in your trade centers. In this case, we still have capacity. We are not even fully employed, which means I don't need to build more trade centers. If you ever find yourself in a situation where it is maxed out, build more of them and you will be able to import or export more from and to the world market. Now, another thing that I completely skipped over is this company right here. I don't think a paper company is necessarily the strongest one. I was looking at this. Honestly, I don't really like the historical Japanese companies. Mitsubishi right here, what an odd connection here. I don't love it. I think I would rather found this one than the Kansai paper conglomerate, just because this is just paper. If I get the chance, I might disband this one and found Mitsubishi, but honestly, I've seen so much more, like, stronger companies. This is kind of all around a little bit weak. Like, what is this? Come on, this is not that great. Now, I will also tell you, we could, of course, cheese this a little bit here and there. You know, we can promise them random nonsense, like, for example, I won't colonize the Pacific coast. Listen, if you want to do this, if you want to cheese, please be my guest. I won't do it in this video or in any of these videos, because I'm not interested in showing you cheeses that will be patched out eventually. I want you to understand the game, right? You get benefits already. If you understand early on, you don't really care for your consumer economy, you want an economy that supports a lot of building, because then those buildings employ people and then you can build a consumer economy. And this is also what we support with the trade center right here. Again, cheese is cheese, but this right here is a real understanding of the game. Now that we are back into gold reserves, I am going to keep building up our construction sectors right here, like I already said. Oh, we passed dedicated police force, which is great. It will strengthen the petite bourgeoisie. It will weaken the shogunate. You love to see it. I will also keep pushing this up here. You can see we're getting now more radicals. Like I say, it doesn't matter for us, but it is important to keep in mind. Now, I have seen, and you should keep this in mind as well, that the nihilists are getting a little bit uppity. Honestly, if they were to rebel, we could literally just kill them. Like, it does not really matter that much to me. I'm gonna suppress them here. I'm not gonna do any of their reforms. I'm okay with where we are. If they rebel, they rebel. That is fine. I'm going to go ahead and give ourselves secret police. If they rebel, so be it. But honestly, I think we'll be fine. See, so here is now a revolution progress. This is not good, but don't get too worried about it. If they are not at 100% activism, they cannot physically rebel. If we do pass secret police, then we're gonna be golden. If they rebel against us, well, so be it. I am going to crush them. Always just make sure, if you have journal entries, is this something that could drive us away, that could make it so that the journal entry fails? The answer is no, so if they rebel, I'll kill them. And that's that. I have also started to suppress them. That is why we had all this authority lying around. We're gonna be fine. You just sometimes have to push something through that the liberals don't like. Oh, and yep. So I suppressed that movement so much that it just literally disappeared. Like I told you, be a little bit heavy-handed if you're in a backward country. Don't act like you are a democracy like all the way over here. You might have to care about your pops here, not in Japan or Russia or any of those other countries that don't really care about rights. Speaking of rights, I think we might see the NGF here. Germany, or I should say Prussia, is pushing into Russia. I think they might win leadership here. We have now hit this general point that I was referring to. Take a look at this. We have a light surplus in money, nothing too big, but it's decent, and we have a light negative in the investment pool, which means I will never dip into my debt, at least for the time being, and the investment pool is now kind of at a break-even point. This is good stuff, because it does mean that we are growing at a good and adequate rate. That is how you can tell. Oh, and we have a new Shogun. Jesus, what a lucky roll. So this will not always happen to me. He's a modernizer. That is crazy. That is actually sick, because this is an amazing ideology. Yeah, that's really all I can say there. We got really, really lucky when it comes to that. Obviously, we have a traditionalist right here, but honestly, that doesn't matter. We are on our way out. Obviously, I'm still delaying, turning into the Empire of Japan, but you can see it right here, 1864. Very soon, I can reinitiate honorable restoration completing itself, and then we get Meiji. See, do you see this right here, by the way? So the liberal movement came back because they got 5% support. They were going to go up, or are going to go up, to 83 militancy, which is dangerous for us. I'm suppressing them. They're already marginal. They're gonna disappear in just 2 seconds yet again. They're just not a threat. What do you want me to say? I don't care about what a peasant thinks. This is why I never respond to your comments on the channel, by the way. Haha, got him. We got Secret Police. I'm gonna go ahead, upgrade this as much as we can as well. At this point, suppression becomes even easier. We will have absolutely no issue with revolutions anymore. We literally don't need to worry about it. The next one, I just want to kind of point out what would be a trap, and that is this right here, landed voting. Do not pick it up. It will strengthen your shogun. Even if it says the liberals like it, do not do it. Instead, I will be focusing on other stuff. What technology do we need for this? Mutual funds. Okay, let's wait on that. I think I might be okay with all of the laws that I have right now. Actually, technically, we might want to go with interventionism or laissez-faire. Let's do interventionism. I like monopolies, but this is better because I want to get rid of just being agrarian anyway. Atmospheric engine, like I said, a very important technology. It will be much, much better for everything you do and make all of these much more profitable going forward. Now, right now, that is not the case, but trust me, they're gonna hire eventually. Man, they really made Japan so much easier now that the AI opens you. Let me tell you, if you don't have the world market, you cannot industrialize the way I'm doing it, because we would have a massive, massive deficit when it comes to iron. You can see the local price even still is very high, but we will just have a shortage. You have to be so much more careful if you're isolationist. This is amazing. Don't forget, by the way, to give your companies free charters. If you check companies, you can see whether you still have any free charters left. I only have used one now. Like I said, I don't like this company, but they already exist, so I might as well use them. I'm gonna give them monopolies. Why wouldn't I? That is okay. It's free anyway. Investment rights and trade rights are more important later. Let me check one thing here. Trade centers are pretty profitable right now. You know what? I'm gonna give you trade rights. That is okay. It's gonna cost me some authority. Who cares? We come out at a point right here where they will make a lot of money, which will go into the investment pool, and of course build more paper and logging camps, which are two things that we want, without a doubt. And there is the second upgrade to our mines. Now, I do want you to note that we basically haven't had any mine upgrades because I didn't build any. We are going to go really heavily into this, but now the opportunity cost here is much, much more in the mining favor. If I build mines with picks and shovels, we only get 20 iron. Now, every level we will get 60 plus throughput and scaling and yada yada yada. The point being, once we have this technology, we can stop thinking about this by saying, hey, we get all of our construction materials from the world market, and instead say, hey, we're going to have them at home. It's going to be cheaper. It's going to be better. It's going to be a great amount of fun. Did you win, by the way? I don't know. So, you know what? Good luck. And boom, there you go. Honorable restoration done. We have become Japan, and would you not love this? Meiji Yamato is right here at a ripe old age of 16, so young and market liberal. I love him. He is perfect. Meiji restoration, of course, is great. We can pick right here either boosting industrialists or saying I will boost intelligentsia. Listen, I'm all in on the industrialists. Absolutely am I all in on them, because that is exactly what matters. Now, I will tell you, I don't necessarily want to pass too many many laws right now. All I'm going to do is I'm going to put up this right here again, so we don't need legitimacy all that much. We can even spend our authority if we wanted to, right? Because now we will go into building our own construction industry. How do you do this? Well, first of all, take in whether you have any province where you have both coal and iron. We do not. Very unfortunate. In this case, focus on a little bit of coal and then on a lot of iron. You can see right here, I'm pumping out numbers. I'm not really stepping shy. Then we're also going to build, of course, more wood right here, because again, where we have construction, we need iron, we need steel, we need wood, we need tools, all of that stuff. Then in this province, where we have our iron province, ideally, this is both iron and coal, but in our case, it's just iron. We're also going to build steel mills, we're going to build tooling workshops, and then afterwards, why not, just for good measure, we're going to build a little bit, just a little bit of this right here, the motor industries as well. This will guarantee that we can manufacture all this stuff at home, and we will finally have a very, very cheap construction sector. Beautiful. Do keep in mind we could give them investment rights, but I think I am fine. I don't need their investment rights. We could do this and then we nationalize the buildings. Don't worry about this too much. Might be a little bit too complex, especially if you're a starter. What you want is to get embassies. Now again, I really want to highlight as well, everybody hates me. It does not matter. You can tell, right? This does not play a role. We are fine. And there's public schools, and I will immediately move on to pass migration controls. Only the Haymen are against it. That's okay. Nothing's gonna happen here. With this new institution, we can also move up to education level 3 right here. Everything thereafter, of course, coming only if we pass any of these, which admittedly we might, but right now I don't really care. Listen, you have to realize one thing, and that is, as long as we are Japan, as long as we have modernizers in charge, my god, they love every single piece of good legislation. So we're good to go. Now here's one thing that you have to realize is, and that is with this high pop growth that we have in this current patch, which is pretty much historically accurate, if you don't speed build as Japan, so I'm not saying massively min-maxing, but if you're not doing okay at the very least, you may well be overwhelmed with unemployed people. I was partially over 1 million. I think when we started here, we were at like, what, 200,000? You can see it right here. You want to grow, because otherwise, yeah, it might get pretty nasty for you. Oh my god, and they're actually doing it. We are actually going to see a Germany, I think. Maybe. The NGF actually nailing it. That is nuts. I like it. See, and you can basically see now that they have stopped producing, or rather importing, as much iron as they did initially, because I'm producing it locally now. Instead, they now get to focus on very profitable trade that actually goes into a consumer economy. Previously, we had to subsidize this. Now that doesn't matter anymore. They will import more and more of it as we start lifting people out of poverty. Do keep in mind, people are still extremely poor because of how many unemployed and peasants we have, but there are now more people, much more, or many more people that are gainfully employed, which directly means they have money to buy consumer goods. If you don't have a consumer economy, don't bother importing consumer goods. And my god, yeah, Germany's winning this one. Jesus Christ. Okay, that is pretty damn decisive. Oh, and I almost forgot I have to rename this city as well. Bavaria City 2.0. And that should, yep, there you go, it is done. A renewed Japan, we can go with any of these modifiers. Let's be real here, this one is very self-evidently the best. So now I essentially want you to take this in. I am on maximum taxation. I am taxing the ever-living hell out of them. However, the standard of living on average is now higher than when we started this. The reason for this is that we have many more people gainfully employed versus just sitting on the fields. This is insanely important. I cannot stress it enough. I hope that I'm really hitting that point home. At this point, our trade centers will also start, of course, getting more and more consumer goods because we have more consumers. Are we still very much? Yep, look at that. That is still nasty, isn't it? But if you are not industrialized, you will never lift those people out of poverty. Keep that in mind. Also, keep this beautiful Germany in mind. Friedrich Wilhelm von Hohenzollern, good for you. Now, there are many ways to optimize this. I really want to stress this. You can expand, you can take colonies, yada yada yada, you can cheese certain treaties, but the base idea that you need to understand is that trade is there to supplement production that you don't yet have because of the opportunity cost. You wanted to build something else instead of that production. It isn't there initially to basically fulfill the needs of a population that is dirt poor anyway. Let's take a look at how the election is going. Oh, look at the Hayman. Okay, we have a bit of a bug here where people are delayed, so they will stick much longer to the Hayman than they normally would. I think that's okay, though. These are fine parties. Obviously, also, this makes it so that we are now equal. Whenever I level up earning recognition, it will at the very least stand still. That is great. Now I think we are going to take this modernizer opportunity for as long as we still have it to pass proportional taxation. It is slightly better, but just fundamentally it basically takes the basic weight of our taxation system from the lowest levels. So that is something that we do want to do. It will make the industrialists slightly less happy, but they are extremely happy, so we'll be fine. Yeah, and basically here you see exactly how this goes, right? We were doing incredibly well. Well, we are doing incredibly well. You can see right here that our GDP has risen drastically. I have signed a couple of investment deals back and forth. We are actually going to make it to earning recognition without literally like doing anything. As in, I don't start a single war, I don't go in against anybody. The idea here being you can very clearly overcome it. You now also see, of course, the radicals and loyalists switching places. Yeah, listen, this is just how this goes. You need to build your own economy, and then you take trade into account. And I mean, we do take it into account, right? I massively rigged up this oil rig stuff right here, and since I can't really use all of it, I have to very much assume, there it is. Yep, we are knocking out oil from our country onto the world market. This is how you want to utilize trade. You don't want to rely too much on importing stuff when you don't even have a proper economy. Things are going splendidly. Yep, and as is tradition, Mitsui right here is now one of the most, Maple & Co, that is very good. Okay, is one of the most profitable companies in the world. That is just how that goes. I love the economy, and the economy loves me. I will now go ahead and do something really stupid. I'm gonna declare war against Russia. Let's see how that goes. I have no idea, but hey, if this isn't fun to find out, then I don't know what is. We're gonna declare war over Kamchatka for no reason whatsoever. We're gonna see how that goes, okay? I can raise my taxes if I have to, but I think we're doing okay. Dude, look at these naval invasions. That is too funny, alright. And there goes Kamchatka. Welcome to the party, pal. I see you traveling. I think your boats are still much further away. Yeah, that's okay. I think we'll be okay. I'm literally just building new units as I see all these invasions. Only a couple of which, now that I see it, are actually dangerous for us. I don't even know what's going on here. They're just not showing up here. Like they're literally just not showing up to this. They're showing up to this front line right here. Believe it or not, I am fighting Brusilov in Tobolsk. That's pretty damn good. Soon it's gonna be over. I'm actually almost making it to the Ural Mountains. I guess I've made it there already. I just haven't pushed any further. Okay, this is it. Finally, it's going to be over. They never managed to invade me, and there you go. Yep, earning recognition. That is done. The Japanese-German Treaty of Commerce and Navigation. A new dawn for the Empire of Japan. Ratify the treaty. I have become a great power. Number 4, God bless America, God bless Japan. This is what I'm talking about. You just need to take control of your market. If you want, you can take some investment treaties and later revoke it. Either way, you will do incredibly well if you ignore your population while they are just, you know, I guess kind of sad. Don't worry about it too much, have some fun in the game, and if you also got a save that is a disaster, send it to me, to my address. It is linked in the description, and I'll leave you here. Later, alligator.